And now, Ralston reports.
Welcome back to Ralston Reports. The fallout from a controversial decision by the Clark County School District on a big legal payout is intensifying. The district is coming under fire for cutting a six-figure check to get board member Aaron Craner out of a lawsuit without taking it to the public via the school board. In a minute, we'll hear from the man challenging Craner, but first, News 3's Kelsey Thomas has some background.
First Superintendent Pat Skorkowski apologizing last week, vowing to be more open about proposed changes to the district's sex ed curriculum. Now the school district defending a big legal payout to remove school board president Aaron Craner from a lawsuit.
For years, CCSD has not been transparent. They have tried their best to hide things from parents, from the press, from taxpayers. There's just some really high-profile incidents that reflect on what CCSD's kind of internal, informal policy has been for years.
Could a lack of transparency be hurting taxpayers? That's the belief of Victor Jokes with the Nevada Policy Research Institute, who says the proof is in the two recent high-profile controversies.
When people are asking questions that they don't want asked, they do their best to dodge, to stall, to delay.
And that, Jokes says, is a problem.
Public agencies work for the public. They're supposed to be accountable to the public. They're supposed to give us information.
The district spent more than $100,000 to get Craner's name dropped from a lawsuit that accuses her of cutting a contract with an insurance broker. John Velardita is with the Clark County Education Association.
We view Craner's action as one of a whistleblower, essentially saying, why are we having this kind of an arrangement with a private consultant on health insurance?
But Stephen Augsburger, who runs the District Administrators Union, says Craner should not be making those decisions on her own.
It wasn't done with trustee consensus. It wasn't done with public input, public discussion, and a vote. It was done in secret. The way they now have resolved this issue is the same way.
To avoid a payout policy that requires school board approval for settlements over $100,000, the district cut two separate checks, keeping the public and our elected leaders who oversee the district's $2.3 billion budget in the dark.
We invited the school district and board members, including Aaron Craner, but no takers. Here to go face-to-face, though, Joe Spencer. He's running against Aaron Craner. He's also calling for her to resign her position. Appreciate your willingness to come on the program.
Thank you very much.
So did you know anything about this before it was announced? And if not, what was your reaction once it was announced?
I didn't know, and I was shocked. I had actually been waiting and watching for it to appear in the news, to be on the school board agenda, for the board to ratify the decision to approve that check.
Because it had come out in August. There had been a story in the RJ in August talking about this settlement to get Craner out of the lawsuit. And I think the reporters at the RJ, too, were waiting for this to be on a public agenda, and it never was.
Correct, yeah. And in fact, you know, I was starting to believe that they were possibly trying to delay action on it until after the election as kind of a boost, you know, towards her. Then the story came out that the check kind of just magically appeared and was approved without anybody's knowledge or in the public forum, and that's a huge problem to me. That is a huge problem.
Why did you run against her in the first place?
Change. There is drastic change needs to be made. I've been here for about 2.5 years in the state. I came from San Diego, very involved in the community out there. And what I see going on out here, it's a disaster. Quite honestly, had I known how bad the school district was before I moved, I'm not sure I would have moved. I might have stayed. I've got a daughter in 6th grade, and yeah, her education is very important to me.
Is she in the public school system?
She is.
And when you say it's so bad, what do you mean?
Just everything with the district. The district is always in the news, getting bombarded for one thing or another. It's about ethics. It's about public trust. It's about academic achievement. I mean, there's not a whole lot of positive that comes out of the school district in the news.
You know, this is an astonishing story to me, especially the two checks that were cut. It seems so suspicious. They were obviously, to me, trying to keep it secret, which is why they split the checks. You're calling for organizations, including the RJ, which endorsed Aaron Craner, to rescind their endorsement. I was shocked by what RJ editor Mike Hengel said in the paper. He said the endorsement of Craner stands. Here's exactly what he said. In our editorial endorsing Ms. Craner, we noted our concerns about her overreach on this very issue. Hengel said overreach. I love that. We believe Ms. Craner is, unfortunately, still the best candidate in this race. You must be some kind of loser, sir, for them to say that about you.
When I read that, I thought the very same thing. You know, frankly, the only I only went to 2 interviews for endorsements. That was with the RJ and with local 1908 firefighters for Clark County. It was my intent not to go out seeking endorsements, not to campaign, seek donations and all that. Very unique way of doing things, but I just wanted to do it a completely different way.
That's guaranteed to lose you the race, though, isn't it?
I don't think so.
No?
Not, especially when you have your opponent making headlines the way she does. You know, I don't want, there's too much mistrust with the community. And so I don't want people thinking, well, there's just another person trying to get their hat in the ring. I am a parent of a child in the school district. I want to be for the parents in this community, something that it seems that most of the trustees forget once they're elected in there.
Did your endorsement interview with the RJ not go well? Is that what happened?
No, I thought it went really well. They were, when I told them that I wasn't out beating the, you know, the sand and trying to get myself, you know, campaign flyers and so forth, they felt a little shaky about that. And when I wrote to them asking them to pull Erin's endorsement, I didn't ask them to turn around and endorse me. I was fine with that. I just felt they should turn around and say, we're not going to endorse anybody at this point. To keep their endorsement behind her really was questionable to me.
Last week, you wrote an email to Erin Craner calling for her to resign her post. This is from the RJ story. Spencer's resignation call asked Craner if she thinks, quote, the public is going to believe for 1 second that the $100 payment from the attorneys wasn't done to help hide this whole thing, the outside counsel paying that $100 above the $100,000. He contended that the check was issued in secret to protect Craner in the November election and bypass the board, which may have rejected the settlement. One would have to believe that you were well informed of everything since it involved you and since your name was endorsed onto the settlement check from the school district, Spencer wrote to Craner. Would seem that you have alienated yourself from the board that you were supposed to work with. It's clear, at least, I think, Trustee Linda Young was shocked that this has occurred. Have you talked to any of the other trustees about this?
I have not. I did read Trustee Young's comments, and you know, if we take her for her word at face value, then they didn't know, and that's a huge question when you have one board member doing things that the other board members don't know about. That's a huge problem.
Erin Craner has made comments, and I talked to someone at the school district today, essentially saying this did not happen. It's not. You have your facts wrong. Listen, you have a dispute between 2 parties. You have this business benefits, and you have the school district. They have a contract dispute. They try to terminate the contract. Excuse me. And there's a lawsuit. People can say anything in a lawsuit. They can make stuff up. Just say on information and belief. They can put anything they want after that. How do you know that's not what happened here?
She hasn't come forth and said anything to dispute that and give information. I actually invited her to come join on the show as well. I know you reached out to her, as you said. I sent her a follow-up email when she responded to me and said that she was not going to resign the position and she was moving forward with the election. And I reached out and said, hey, if you want to inform the community, I would love it. I'm sure the community that has voted you in would love it, as well as the community in general in Clark County. Come inform us. Tell us what there is to know. And you know, I know there's a legal action going on, and that's what they're hiding behind. But if somebody had me out there and saying I did this or I did that, especially right during an election, I would clear up as much as I could real quick.
I guess the issue here is that I guess I could turn it around. Since neither you nor I know exactly what happened, is that maybe she was doing her job. Maybe she said, this is a bad contract. She goes to Pat Skorkowski. There's an email that's out there and says, you know, you got to sever this contract. This is bad for the taxpayers. My advice to you is to get rid of it. She's doing her job then, isn't she?
Well, sort of. I had this discussion with some people on the RJ column online, and that may be very true. And let's assume for a moment that is true. Why wasn't it done in an open board meeting? Why wasn't it brought up at the open board meeting and discussed and say, hey, there's a problem with this contract, here's what I think, here's what the other board members think, we're all in agreement, let's move forward with this action. The problem from the very beginning, if it is straightforward, is that it was done closed session in an email privately without any link or acknowledgement that the entire board was speaking is one.
Yeah, the worst part about this, I think, is that none of this took place in public. I suppose they still have a chance to do that. We're going to talk more about that when we come back with Joe Spencer to talk about why in the world the Clark County School District would have paid $100,000, done it secretly, just to get a trustee out of a lawsuit. Stick around.
Here's today's Ralston Reports question of the day. Let us know what you think by joining the conversation on our Facebook page. And now, Ralston Reports.
Welcome back. Are you suspicious that the Clark County School District, under the cover of darkness, paid $100,000 to get Aaron Craner out of a lawsuit? It was never on an agenda. They had an outside counsel pay the additional $100 so it wouldn't have to appear on the agenda. $100,000 is the threshold. We wanted Aaron Craner to come on and tell us what's true and what's not true in this story. She's the president of the school board. She refused. We couldn't get anyone from the school board to come on and explain this. It sounds scandalous, doesn't it? Well, Joe Spencer thinks it is, and he's running against Aaron Craner's called for her to resign. Again, this could be a business dispute. They could have fabricated stuff in the lawsuit. But here's what makes me a little bit suspicious. The Clark County School District wrote and signed Craner's name to the $100,000 settlement check and freed her from the lawsuit without approval from anybody. They just essentially stamped it on there, hoped that no one would find out. This is what happened, according to the RJ. District spokeswoman Kirsten Sear asserted Wednesday that district officials didn't inform board members about the payout. It was written September 12th. That's how long ago this is, or seek their approval because the district settlement check didn't exceed $100,000. District regulation states that the board approval is required if, quote, claimant's award total settlement or collective payments exceeds $100,000. But the total settlement of $100,100 offered by the district in August did exceed that regulation requirement by, of course, $100. The district simply issued a check for $100,000 and had its outside legal counsel, that's Colasar and Latham, pay the remaining $100 to Business Benefits Inc. Not to throw you a softball, sir, but who in the world would not be suspicious of that?
Exactly, and that was the biggest thing out of there. I mean, it's like the problem gets worse and worse. And it almost opens up a whole new can of worms when the district says, oh, it's routine that we stamp checks. And it may be routine, but generally in electronic check signing, somebody's monitoring. I mean, I would hope that if my name is going on a check for $100,000, I'd be fully aware of it, that it was going out, not, oh, the district just sends it out routinely. And especially on a settlement for yourself, it's just, there's a lot of things that are really, really shady with it.
You know, municipal governments, I believe, have this threshold for when they have to put contracts out to bid, and I believe it's $25,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. $100,000 to be able to keep, imagine how many kinds of things they could keep out of taxpayers' view for $100,000. That seems like a very high threshold to me, no?
No, absolutely, absolutely. And what I find amazing is just the week before in the RJ, Ms. Craner was quoted in response of Pat Skorkowski and the whole issue with the sex education classes not being talked about in public. And she was quoted as saying, I was really upset that this went forward. We're a public organization and need to do business in public. Really?
Somewhat ironic now, right?
And she goes on to finish, it created a level of doubt, mistrust, and suspicion. I'm not sure if you were talking about that situation or your own situation now, because it just seems very conflicting.
Again, they're essentially denying, and Aaron Craner's put out a couple of statements I've seen essentially denying that this happened the way that Business Benefits says it happened in the lawsuit. I wish you were here to talk about this. I wish someone from the school district were here. All they would do is give us this statement today, and I do want to read it in all fairness. Regulation 3432 gives the school district's general counsel and CFO, it's the chief financial officer, the authority to authorize up to $100,000 in settlements. I cannot believe this regulation, without approval from the school board. Therefore, the district's general counsel had authorized a payment of $100,000 per that regulation. The outside counsel offered an offer of judgment of $100,000. The plaintiff agreed to accept the $100,000 offer of judgment against Trustee Craner. The outside counsel therefore paid the remaining $100 that the district did not authorize. The offer will be a public document when the plaintiff files it with the court. The offer had to be paid expeditiously, and so efforts were made to make payment as quickly as possible. That's from Kirsten Sear, who is the school district's spokeswoman. What do you want to see happen now, since you know that Aaron Craner's not going to resign? I know you want to beat her in the election, but what should the school board do now to make up for this this revelation?
I'm not sure it can be made up. I mean, accountability at some point has to happen, and that's why I'm running and want to be elected to the position. But I mean, how many times do we have to have the same story over and over and over? Oh, we should have done this better. We should have done that better. Oh, we're sorry. Oh yeah, we got caught with our hand in the cookie jar. It's a repetitive performance, and you know, when does the community get tired of it and say enough is enough?
When do they?
Well, you know, you've got three incumbents that you know, the community can speak loud and hard and vote the incumbents out and put the new fresh breath in. So we'll see.
Well, You seem perfectly reasonable here. I don't know what you said to the. Did you tell the RJ editorial board you were against the margin tax? 'Cause if you had done that, you might have gotten the endorsement. Did you try that?
I did.
You did tell. You did.
I did.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. That must have been really bad. All right, Joe Spencer, I appreciate your willingness to come on the program, and good luck to you on November 4th.
Thank you very much.
When we come back, we'll get your take on early voting. I say people shouldn't early vote. I bet a lot of people disagree with me. Stick around.
Find archived programs by going online to mynews3.com and clicking on Ralston Reports.